Tonight's class is taught by Avery Lewis. To go ahead and skip ahead to that class, check the screen for the time marker at which you can skip ahead to Avery's class. To hear the intro to my channel, a little bit more about my process of teaching, and get connected in different ways, continue listening, and then Avery's class will start right after. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and we look forward to connecting with you. Hi, my name is Kim, and welcome to my channel. You may have found yourself here when you were looking for yoga, yin yoga, anxiety relief, relaxation, something to do with Brene Brown that'll help your day feel better, or maybe you somehow stumbled here through a picture of a cute animal, or we know each other offline. However you made it here, welcome, and I'm glad that you're here. If you are joining me for a yoga class, go ahead and find yourself somewhere you can lie on the floor for about an hour to an hour and a half. And yes, I genuinely mean just somewhere you can lie on the floor. Yin yoga is a practice that can be done on a yoga mat, but can also just be done lying in the middle of your bedroom floor, your living room floor, or wherever you find yourself. We'll be moving through about a dozen or so different poses that might feel like they are simple at first, but the purpose of yin yoga is to find a way to use our breath and our self willpower to sit in the same position for 3 to 5 or maybe even 7 minutes. And while that sounds simple at first and maybe not like what anything you ever thought yoga could be is, over time we work to ride the edge and the waves of sensation. We never want to push ourselves to a sense of pain, and so if you ever find yourself in pain, please move in a way that feels better for you. But we want to ride the waves of sensation so that we can use the ability to take a deeper inhale, to take a longer exhale, to sit with things that feel new or uncomfortable. Because off the mat or off the floor or outside of this moment that you find yourself in, there can be a lot of things that are hard to deal with, a lot of things that are hard to sit with, and a lot of things that you are trying to push away or avoid or take a break from. And it's not a problem to take a break. But when we find ourselves unable to take a pause and just be with ourselves for 5 minutes, we maybe need to take more breaks for ourselves. So think of this time, whether you participate in the movement or not, as a time for you to take a break, to take a pause, and just to give back to yourself. You probably spend hours and hours each day giving your time to someone else in the interest of hopefully something you enjoy. But take this time for you to sit, to lie, to be, and to breathe. Thank you, and I'll see you on the mat.
Well, Bridget and Keith, since this is your both first time here, the sort of roadmap for this class, it's pretty gentle class. We don't move very quickly. We'll almost always start on our backs and sort of drop in from there and do a little like light stretching. And then we usually spend some time on hands and knees doing like cat-cow and moving a little bit from there. We'll do some standing poses. And then take it back down, and the last like 25 minutes-ish is going to be just restorative, where we'll kind of use our props in different ways and play around and try to relax. And that's sort of the bell curve of the class. I have a loose plan that is malleable. So is there anything anybody really wants to work on tonight, or part of the body you want to pay attention to? Or I'm going to try to fold all that in somehow. See how that goes. Well, when I was thinking about class today, I was reflecting on something that someone said in my last day of class in grad school. I'm in a psychotherapy program right now. And they said, you probably maybe have heard this before. Maybe you know the person who quoted this even. I'm not sure. They didn't know where this originated, but they said that you can't hold anxiety and a sense of wonder at the same time. And that was kind of like revolutionary for me. Like I sometimes hate those sort of sayings, like it can't possibly be that simple, and like it's kind of like annoyed by that. But I was thinking about that. I was super stressed out the last couple of weeks finishing this quarter and trying to just keep that in the back of my mind. And I was noticing it for me, that holds true not just with anxiety, but like all kinds of challenging feelings. Like it's hard to hold anger and wonder at the same time, and it's hard to hold even like, yeah, deep sadness and wonder at the same time. Some feelings seem to mesh a little more easily. I think grief and wonder go together better than something like anxiety or worry and wonder. But in this class, I'm always thinking about how does that show up in the body? Like when I think about what does a sense of wonder actually feel like in my body? Because I think when we can start to notice what that feels like in the body, it's like you place a sort of somatic bookmark in your body, and it's easier to get back to that place. Like the more times you practice getting into that state, the easier it is to get back into it. So when I was trying to imagine what it feels like to have wonder, to feel in awe of something, I was actually like smelling a Daphne and trying to feel for where I felt the smell, and it's not just in your nose. It's like try it when you go home or something. Try to smell a flower and see where you actually feel it in your body. And that awe or that sense of like, oh, it's amazing, feels like, for me, it might be different for you, it feels like it drops into my whole back body. Like I can feel it in my shoulder blades and like just like the back of my heart, and then down, I feel my pelvis and my legs feel very grounded. So I'm like, okay, if that's what it feels like physically to feel wonder, then how can I get to that more often? And so now I'm trying to like reverse engineer wonder, basically. Like if I can, instead of like being awe-inspired by something, I can have my body feel it first and then make the awe come from me. So I thought we might play with that a little bit tonight, that exploration. And I'm going to cue it for you the way that I experience it, wonder, that is. But my invitation to you is to try to imagine what wonder feels like for you, because it might feel different in your body than it does in mine. So we might try some visualization, or even after you leave class and you go home tonight, just get curious, like when you smell an amazing flower, where do you feel the smell? Or when you get to the top of the trail and you look out over the mountains, where do you actually feel that visual somatically? So that's our point of entry tonight. Does that sound okay, everybody? Okay. Let's set up props first. So we have them handy. You can just slide your blocks up towards the top of your mat. We're not going to need them right away, but it'll be nice to have them there. And then we're going to start on our backs, but it might be nice to spread out a blanket or towel or something to just have a little extra cushion under your pelvis. And eventually this will be cushion for our knees. Yeah, and then as you lay down, you can have your feet up towards the top of your mat. So feet towards the front of the room here, towards me, and head towards the back of the room. I'm going to turn off the heat now. Okay, so I just turned off the heat, but sometimes it takes a couple minutes to register that and actually quiet down. So we're just going to use the first few minutes of the practice to really try to bring your whole attention into this room. And one way you can do that is listen to the sounds that you can hear. So you might be hearing the heater. You might have heard it just turn off. Hear the sound of my voice. Hear the clock ticking. And then see if you can extend your sense of hearing a little bit farther and notice if there's anything you can hear that's outside of this room. The rain or the cars on the street outside. And then just start to notice the temperature in the room, notice the way the air feels on your skin, where it's touching your hands or your feet or your face. And then start to bring your attention actually into your body. And it might be easiest to do that kind of systematically. So you can start by bringing your awareness down to your feet and just notice that you have feet that are attached to your legs. And then see if you can really like feel yourself living inside of your feet. So you're really inhabiting your feet with your presence. Feeling that you live in your toes and you live in the soles of your feet and in the heels and in the ankles. And then let yourself inhabit both of your legs. So sensing into your lower legs and your knees and your thighs, the backs of your legs, the fronts of your legs. And seeing if you can balance your awareness between both legs equally so that you can inhabit your left leg and your right leg at the same time. And then settle into the weight of your pelvis. Just let your whole pelvis rest heavy against the floor. Letting your awareness inhabit your core, moving through your belly, your low back, your rib cage. And as you start to inhabit your core, it might have naturally happened that you begin to breathe a little bit deeper. So you might just let the belly soften a bit so that as you inhale, it can expand up towards the ceiling. There can be a gentle rise and fall to your chest. And letting that continue, begin to bring your awareness into your shoulders and into your arms, down the length of your arms to your wrists, hands, and fingers. Feeling yourself alive in your arms. And trying to inhabit, to be aware of both your left and your right arm equally. And without getting too cerebral about it, let your attention come into your head and see if you can soften through the muscles of your face. Let your eyes relax, let your mouth relax. And then let all that awareness, see if you can inhabit your whole body at once. So from the bottoms of your feet, scanning all the way up through your legs, core, arms, neck, and head, so that you are one whole connected organism. And let that awareness drop down into your back body. So feel for where the back of your body connects to the mat or the blanket. Sometimes I like to visualize like when leaves fall from trees and sort of settle on the top of a lake or a pond, and they float there for a while until they start to decompose and get a little heavier, and then the leaves float down to the bottom of the lake. So if you can let your awareness be like that, like the leaves sort of floating down into the bottom, the base of your body as it connects to the floor. We're going to try to keep bringing our attention into the back body throughout the different postures we move through tonight. And that's sort of to counter our forward-facing habits. So when we're driving all day, or when we're looking at a computer, when we're looking at our phones, our attention is in the front of our body. It's moving through all the senses of our face and our eyes. So we can start to drop attention into the back of the body. We can tap into that perhaps sense of wonder that we were discussing earlier. So you can just kind of just hold that and sort of let it flavor the practice. And we'll start to bring in a little movement here. So you can bring the bottoms of your feet to the floor so that your knees point up towards the ceiling. And then just heel toe your feet out so that they're about as wide as your mat. And then I'm going to have you either place your hands on your belly, or you can reach them up overhead and just let them fall on the floor above you, behind you. And then slowly let both of your knees fall to one side. Doesn't matter which side, just pick whichever one feels natural. Yeah. And then in your own time, you can lift your knees back up towards the ceiling and let them drop over to the other side. And I'm going to have you just keep doing that back and forth at your own pace, and try to keep your attention pretty internal. You might let your awareness kind of sink down into the place where your thigh bone connects into your pelvis. And just noticing where there is sensation or where there isn't sensation, where things might feel a little like crunchy or sticky, or where they feel smooth. So you can do this a couple more times if you'd like. And then when you're ready, I'm going to have you just reach your feet straight up into the air so that you lengthen through the backs of your legs. And once your legs are lifted, then you can just kind of point and flex the feet. So you can point your toes up towards the ceiling, feel what it feels like to point with some vigor, and then draw the toes back towards your face, pressing the heels towards the sky. And then you can kind of play around with different shapes. So maybe you press the inner arch of your foot towards the ceiling and let the outer arch reach down. And then try the opposite, reaching outer arch towards the ceiling, inner arch down. And then you might kind of knead the air with your toes, or circle the feet around, rolling through the ankles. Try to approach this with curiosity, or just kind of feeling what's there, what needs attention perhaps, what needs to be cared for. Okay. And then when you're ready, you can bend your knees and draw your legs in towards your chest. And then take hold of your knees with your arms, and it might just feel good to rock side to side a little bit here. Pay special attention to the low back. Okay, so we're going to come to hands and knees next in a tabletop shape, and there's a few ways that you can get there. You can either roll onto one side and press yourself up, or it might feel good to rock and roll along the length of your spine a few times. So whatever way makes sense for you, we'll meet in tabletop when you're ready. So it might be nice to keep your blanket there for some extra padding. And then we'll just bring hands underneath the shoulders and knees under your hips. So you have your knees about hips width distance apart. And then if it's comfortable, you can close your eyes and try to bring all your attention towards your spine, towards your back body. And then as you inhale, let your back body drop down towards the floor as you lift your head and lift your tailbone. And then you'll feel your shoulder blades draw towards each other and your collarbones widen, a cow pose. And then as you push your hands into the floor, draw your back body up towards the ceiling and let your head and your tailbone drop into cat pose. And then just move back and forth like that at your own pace, inhaling as you move through cow and exhaling as you move through cat. And it's just an experiment to see what it's like to let this movement be initiated by the back body. I think we often think about this movement as dropping the belly and then drawing the belly in, and it's very forward focused. So it might just be interesting to play around with the opposite. Okay, and then we're going to do a little side stretching here. So I'm going to have you drop your right elbow down to the floor. Yep. And then we're going to take the left hand over to the upper right corner of your mat. And then send your hips back towards your left heel. And just take one big breath into your whole left side. Exhale all the way. And then we're going to try that on the other side. So you can come back to tabletop. We're going to drop the left elbow down and then reach the right hand towards the left corner of the mat and stretch your hips back towards your right heel. Big breath into your right side. And exhale. And let's come back to tabletop. And then rooting down through your right hand in tabletop, inhale, lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, we're gonna just thread the needle, take the left arm underneath the right arm. The left side of your face can come down towards the floor, or if that feels far away, you can take a block under your head. I'm just gonna take a couple of breaths here. Think about sending your breath between your shoulder blades. So as you inhale, that space gets a little bit wider. And then we're going to bring the right hand back under the right shoulder. And then inhale as you sweep your left arm back up towards the ceiling. And exhale back to all fours. We'll take one round of cat-cow. Inhale as you lift head and tail. Exhale as you round. And then coming back to neutral, press down through your left hand as you inhale, reach right arm high. And exhale to thread it through. Bringing the right side of your face to the floor. Maybe your left hand stretches forward. We'll take a couple breaths there. Again, think about breathing into the space between your shoulder blades, like the back of your heart. And then we'll bring left hand back under the left shoulder. Inhale as you sweep right arm up towards the ceiling. And exhale back to all fours. Good. Okay, so let's tuck the toes under here, and then we're going to start to reach the hips up and back, finding downward facing dog. I'm going to suggest that you keep a pretty generous bend in your knees as you press back. And first focus on getting a lot of length through the side body. And then glance at your hands for just a moment and spread your fingers and root down through the pointer finger and the thumb. Perfect. Yeah, good. Then you can let your head relax, top of the head can melt down. And then if it feels good, you can kind of pedal out your feet, sinking one heel at a time towards the floor. Good. Okay, so we're going to warm up a little bit from here. As you inhale, I'll have you lift your heels and shift forward into plank pose. Yeah, so we're just going to hold this for a few breaths. I'm going to have you strengthen your legs as much as you can. So really squeeze your muscle to your bones. Reach your tailbone back and then push into the pointer finger and the thumb so much that your heart reaches up through the shoulder blades. So you kind of puff up between the shoulder blades. Good, take an inhale there. Then exhale back, downward facing dog. Full breath in. Exhale all the way. Good, inhale, lift your heels, shift forward, plank pose. Try to come back to that strength right away. So strong legs, tailbone reaches back, belly button draws in, you lift up through the heart. Good, top of your head reaches forward. Inhale there. Exhale, downward facing dog. Full breath in. Full breath out. And last time, inhale, lift your heels, shift forward, plank pose. Come into your strength. Strong legs, strong belly. Heart reaches up through the shoulder blades. Yeah, top of the head reaches forward. Inhale there. This time, exhale and lower down to your belly. And untuck your toes and then press the tops of your feet into the floor. And as you inhale, slowly peel your face, your throat, your heart away from the ground. Let your shoulder blades draw towards each other and down, elbows squeeze in towards your ribs. And then we're going to exhale, lower back down, heart, throat, and face. 2 more times like that, inhaling as you lift. And exhaling as you lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Okay, and then hands under your shoulders. We're going to press back to a tabletop. Tuck the toes under, and then downward facing dog. Okay, so from this down dog, I'm going to have you look forward between your hands and take lots of little steps to come forward to a standing forward fold. And when you get to that fold, find your blocks and take them to their highest setting underneath your hands. Good. So this first fold, we're going to have pretty generous bend in the knees again. It can almost be like you're in a chair pose. And I'm just going to have you let your whole upper body drape over your lower body. So you're really kind of ragdolling it here. And then keeping the knees pretty generously bent, we're going to inhale, push your hands into your blocks and lengthen your spine. So we're coming to a halfway lift. Your arms are going to straighten. Top of your head's going to reach forward. There's a little lift through your heart. So that's our halfway lift. And then we're going to exhale and melt back down. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. One more time. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Okay, and on the next inhale, we're going to come to chair pose. So we're going to let the seat come all the way back and sweep the arms either straight forward, almost like you're kind of holding a plate of hors d'oeuvres, or you can reach them up towards the ceiling. Okay, and let your tailbone sink down, lower belly draws in. Take a big inhale there. And then push both your feet down equally and rise up to stand. Good, big inhale as you stretch your arms back. And then exhale, bring your hands down by your sides. Okay, how are we doing? Good, we're upright. Okay. So I'm going to leave my blanket there for some knee padding, but we are going to come to some standing poses. So your feet are going to be kind of straddling your blanket, but I think that's going to work out just fine. Okay, so let's come to Tadasana. You take your feet about hips width distance apart. There's going to be just like a little bit of bend in your knees. You want to think strong but buoyant, so you have like a little bit of a bounciness to you. So the feet are going to press down, then we'll inhale, sweep your arms out and up. And then exhaling, let your arms come out wide as you swan dive forward. Go ahead and bend the knees a little bit as you come to that forward fold. Hands come to your blocks. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. And then we're going to bring the blocks back to frame our feet. So you just bring them back a little bit in space. And then we're going to step the right foot back. So we're coming to a lunge. Yep. Good. Do you need another block? I have no idea. You only have one.
At this point, unfortunately, the sound recording did not continue recording with the video, and so I'll be doing my best as I revise this video to offer some cues on the screen that I would encourage you to follow along with, and just continue watching the video and see if you can carry through with this movement to the best of your ability, keeping with that sense of wonder and keeping with that sense of flowing with breath.